Do the roll call.
Mr. Amadon?
Here.
Mr. Cobb?
Here.
Ms. McIntyre?
Here.
My apologies.
That's fine.
Ms. Simonis? Councilman Rohr?
Here.
Vice Chairman Mellon? And Chairman Lewis.
Here. And I'll make a motion that we excuse Greg Mellon and
I'll second.
see if our other member shows up or not.
Okay.
Discuss her then.
And Mr. Amadon?
Oh, pardon me? Yes.
Mr. Cobb?
Yes.
Ms. McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilman Rohr?
Yes.
And Chairman Lewis.
Yes. Okay, presume everyone's read the minutes from January 19th. Any corrections, any discussion, anything you want to talk about on those? If not, looking for a motion to approve. So, give a second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Ooh.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain since I wasn't there. But
Pardon me?
I'm going to abstain since I wasn't there. But
Well, did you read them? Okay. Any public comments, sir?
I'm here about the Wi-Fi conversation.
Okay, very good. We have no other members of the public here, so I guess we're not going to get any other public comments. All right, we're going to talk about the airport fee schedule then. Kevin, you want to lead us down that road?
Yes, and first of all, Joe sends his apologies. He won't be here this evening. He had a family matter that he needed to attend to, so he won't be here. And I think that's probably the first one I can remember him missing since I've been around. But anyway, the fee schedule, this will be part of the business plan that the city does. But ahead of that, we wanted to make some adjustments to the ramp fees and our after-hours fees. Currently, the after-hours charge is $70 for the first hour and $50 for each additional. We wanted to raise that to $80 for the first and $60 for each additional. Obviously, the reason for that is when you have someone like a NetJet, FlexJet, you can be there multiple hours, and they may not let us know. Say they tell you we're going to be here at 6 o'clock, so you don't go home, you stay. It ends up being 9 o'clock. You've sat there. You could have just gone home, watched on a flight plan, come back. And we are seeing more business, and we've had a couple. I don't know if you're familiar with Wheels Up. They have a couple clients that are using us, and we've had some before and after hours operations. And again, I think the last fee schedule was done in 2012, so it's been a while since we've adjusted it. And it also would affect turboprops. Right now it's $30, and then $20 each night, and we want to bump that up to $40 first night, $30 for each additional, and waiving with the fuel gallons, that will stay the same, 200 for a jet, 100 for a turboprop or a light sport. Like I said, that will be part of the strategic business plan that.
So you want to make the call in 80 and 60, you said?
Yeah, the first hour would be 80,
Okay.
and then each additional would be 60.
And you want to move the twins or the turboprops
Turboprop,
to 40?
yeah, $40 ramp fee, overnight fee.
How often do you get called in on the after hours? I mean, is it once a week, twice a week?
It kind of depends. That's one thing we track. I think last month was like 15 or 16 hours of call in, and that's whether they call us in like before hours or after. And again, if someone says they're coming in at 8 o'clock, we don't count that as 3 hours after if all we have to do is come in for 1 hour and service them. But there are times they set it up and they say we're going to be in at 5:45, 6 o'clock. You wait, it changes, they bump it back. So it
So you have
could
to
turn
stay,
into being 3
and the
hours.
city pays overtime. probably.
Yes, and that is the big driver, because whoever is doing it, whether it's before hours or after hours, they're being paid an overtime fee, and this is just covering it when you take into consideration all that's entailed.
So the terminal building used to be open during the summer till 7. It's open till 5 now?
We're 8 to 5 year round. We used to switch in the summertime hours to 7 to 7. But, you know, and that was another thing we tracked, and there really wasn't,
No need to do it.
not really.
Any other changes you?
Those were the only
Recommending-
ones that we discussed to do ahead of the business plan. Of course, that ramp fee for the jet, currently 75, that would go up to 100 if I already said that, and then additional nights be 50. But the thing, we waived the first night's ramp fee. So jet, turboprop, if they're 3 nights and they get the minimum fuel, they get the first night, the most expensive night is waived.
That was one thing when I was reading this earlier, I wondered about, because it says ramp fee, it did say 75 for one night, and then it says multiple nights 40. I wondered if it was still the 75 the first night and then went to 40, or if they stayed 3 nights, it was just 40 a night.
No. 70 for the first, 40 for each additional. Another thing with ramp fees, that our ramp fee, that $100 or 40, that's if they come in and they're there, pick up passengers and leave, or if they're there overnight. It's not adjusted for the length of time they're there.
So if they don't spend the night, they still pay the ramp fee?
Yeah. Yeah, if a jet comes in and he doesn't buy the 200 gallon minimum, he pays a $75 ramp fee. That is pretty common on airports like ours that have the corporate traffic that we do. We serviced 365 jets last year. You can have a lot of service in a jet that doesn't buy fuel from you, transporting pilots, coffee, ice, papers. Can you get this, that? We've taken people to the gym. We've, you know, what have you. You can have an employee that is doing nothing but taking care of that jet for the time it's on the ground.
So even if they just pull up in front of the terminal building, shut down the engines, the pilots don't get out, somebody gets in and they leave, there's a ramp fee.
Yep.
How do you invoice that?
They don't leave until we get a credit card.
Okay, that would be.
Now, if we're not there,
That's what I was gonna, that
yeah,
was
well,
my
I
next
mean,
question.
we don't know. But no, when we're there, and you will find, actually airports like OSU, Bolton, now that they have a FBO running it, their ramp fees are based on the size of the jet. The bigger the jet, one of them is, for Gulfstream, it's $500 or 500 gallons. So $75 ramp fee. I even have pilots tell me, transits, they're like, boy, your ramp fees, you know, you could afford to raise those. We just paid, you know, 300, you know, wherever we came from.
Yeah. So do you think that's given us any additional business because they're lower than, I mean, are people looking at that and saying, gee, I want to go to Delaware?
Based on ramp fees? No. No, I mean, I'd say if there's any driver now, it's the runway extension.
What's that brought us? I mean, can you name anything that additional 800 foot has?
We put the 2 largest fuel loads on aircraft since I've been there. One was 1,634 gallons. The other one was 1,500 and something.
Wow.
One of the aircraft that we used in our matrix of aircraft that needed a longer runway was a Challenger 600. There's some Ohio Wesleyan alumni that have one, and they can only use us when it's dry. Can't be wet.
Even now?
Yeah, well, at 5,000 feet.
Okay.
Can't be wet, couldn't be humid. We had one come from San Diego, a 600, flew from San Diego to us. He was the one that took the 1,630 some gallons and flew directly back to San Diego. Without the runway extension, that wouldn't have happened. He probably would have, if he wanted to do it nonstop, he probably would have just went to CMH. And then we had a Global Express. FlexJet now is buying a larger cabin aircraft. They used to pretty much be Lears. Now they have some Gulfstreams, and this Global Express, he came in and he was the one that took 1,500 and some.
Okay. So what would this do, or what are these increases going to do to our revenue? Do you have any projection?
I don't have a projection, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that's something we track, how much we took in ramp fees for the year. I would think it might increase, and really, we would prefer they buy fuel. You know, take the 200 gallons or pay the $75 ramp fee. We'd rather have them purchase the fuel. And we also adjusted when the light sport or the light jets started coming on. You know, we didn't think it was necessarily fair to make them purchase 200 gallons. So we put them in the same category as the turboprops, 100 gallons or $30. That's
You mean something similar to the Cirrus jet or something?
Cirrus, even up to the CJ2s, we do that.
Anybody else got questions or comments?
So they more often pay the ramp fee as opposed to the fuel? Is that what you're? Or is it
No,
a 50?
a lot of times if someone comes in, like we'll take 150 and we say, it takes 200 to waive the ramp fee if you can take it, or yeah, go ahead and put 200 on. A lot of people do a courtesy fuel purchase if they can. Some people, as you know, depending on passengers, where they're going, you know, if they got a great fuel price where they're based or a better fuel price where they're going, FlexJet, NetJet, they get paperwork that comes to us and you're rated like an A to C on fuel. So if the next place they're going to is better than us, then they'll just take the minimum. But usually the minimum is what we have. You know, they will get the 200 gallons. That's enough for them to get to the next place they're going based on what they have on board.
What is Delaware generally rated?
We are usually a B. And there's only two that I've seen that paperwork, FlexJet and NetJet, and we don't get as much FlexJet as we used to because that's who JAGS had. Now they have their own aircraft.
But Wheels Up doesn't do any of that?
I haven't seen any of their paperwork, but they purchase fuel right along. Majority what they have is the King Air 350, and
So
they have,
to.
and then they have the 560 XLS. But apparently somebody who was going out of Bolton is now going out of Delaware, because we've had like a couple trips a month with that group here starting in May.
Okay, and these are the increases that you want recommended to council?
Yes.
No discussion on these? Okay. Looking for a motion to approve a recommendation to council then.
So
Second. Anybody?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. Your show again, Kevin. Talk about the pull-out and pushback service.
The what?
The pull-out and pushback service. You want to adjust those?
I can. I thought
Or
we
is
were.
this just a rate schedule and you may want to leave those alone?
Yes, like I hope, maybe I didn't explain it, with the business plan that they do, they'll look over all of the fee schedules. We didn't think there was anything that we wanted to change ahead of that, not knowing when it would be completed.
Well, maybe we need to discuss just which ones you want to change then. I mean, I think I got them. It was the turboprop for one night.
Yep.
From 30 to 40.
Mm-hmm.
It was the jet from 75 to 100 the first night, and nights after that, $50.
Correct.
And the call-in service, $70 to $80 for the first hour and $50 to $60 for each additional. But those were all, that was everything on the rate schedule that you want to change.
Yes, correct.
Varies.
Next item then was the discussion of the 100 octane low lead fees for utilizing the fuel truck.
Okay. I don't know if it was the last meeting or the meeting before, but the truck had just kind of come online. Again, that truck was not purchased. That used to be our jet truck. We converted it to 100 low lead just to have more capacity because all we had before was a 500-gallon tank. So we really didn't have anything in writing as far as service fees for that. But the trailer had, when we would utilize the trailer, it was a 25-gallon minimum with a $5 service fee, but with the truck, we wanted to make it a $10 service fee or waive with the 25-gallon minimum fuel purchase. And again, it's not that we want to be in the fueling airplanes from the truck business, only having 2 employees there 3 days a week. It would be with like a minimum of a 2-hour notice. Someone can't just say, I need you to come to my hangar and do it. But, you know, we do have a truck sitting there. One thing it's good for is if you have a transient with a twin that comes in, parks, I'm going to be here for 2 days, you can go ahead and top me off. Instead of having to pull the plane to the cabinet, we can take the truck to it. And the trailer pumped very slow. It was only like maybe 10 gallons a minute. And so the fuel truck, it actually had to be idled back because it was set up for jet. I mean, it can put 150 gallons on a plane in just about 5 minutes or less. It takes us more time to move from wing to wing than it does to fill.
So are you in that circumstance where you were talking about where the twins parked on the ramp or somewhere and has been there overnight now and was topped off before they leave? That would still be the $10 charge?
As long as they meet the 25-gallon minimum, there wouldn't be a charge.
Okay. Yeah, because I know most places I've been,
No charge.
there's no charge.
No.
I mean, when they, that may be the only thing they have though. They probably don't, at most of them that I've been to like that, they don't have the self-service.
That was what we found when we checked around. People either didn't have a truck or they only had a truck. There wasn't many that had both. Like, you know, OSU, everything is from the truck, and they're talking about getting a terminal like ours so they don't have to have manpower tied up in it.
So you want to move that from $5 to $10? Is that what you're saying?
Basically, I mean, just the fact that it was an agenda item, something we had discussed previously. I was to call around and see what other airports were doing, and we really come back with what I just said. They either do or they don't. So I think it's a small change, but it is a change.
I guess we are looking for a motion to recommend that to council as well too then.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion of the Wi-Fi option in T-hangers. Who's
I
gonna drive
can
that one?
start us off. There's been some discussion with some tenants, a few tenants either wanting to put antennas on their hangars so they can get internet access, or what the options would be if the city was to facilitate a private company coming in, providing it, if the city was going to do something. So it was just something we discussed, had some emailing back and forth with Mr. Leffler and another tenant, and this was going to be an opportunity to discuss what maybe the needs of tenants were, what the benefits would be to them, and then possibly after that, we would be able to sit down with our IT department, who would be the ones that would handle it whichever direction we go, and just explain what the needs are, see what our options are, and go from there.
Do we currently have Wi-Fi in the terminal?
Yes.
That's what I
Is it
thought.
open? It is. It used to be open.
It's password protected, but I mean, you ask, we give it to you. It's,
So the reason to have Wi-Fi in the city's T-hangars would be for the
Flight planning, updating your database.
I I'm Bob Lover, by the way.
Can you come up to the seat and state your name and address so Elaine can record it, please?
Sure.
My name is Bob Leffler. I live at 320 Vista Ridge in Delaware, and I'm a tenant. I'm also a home builder of an experimental aircraft, so it's probably a little non-traditional tenant. From my perspective, the good news is there's more of us in Delaware than there used to be, as Kevin can probably attest to. And we have different ways we use the hangar than a typical certified. There's many parts, even if I look at this summer, there's been weeks I spent 20 to 30 hours in the hangar. So getting communications in and out, cell phone, internet, whatnot, is important to us. I live with this when I build or I repair. I need to look up something, I need to research something. I mean, just the past couple of weeks, I've replaced my wheels and I had a problem with construction. I had to go get documents to talk with the vendor. Same thing when I replaced my panel. The home builders are doing that constantly since they maintain their own airplane. So it's a little different process than a typical certified aircraft does. And like Kevin mentioned, I made a request 6-8 weeks ago. In my case, I was looking for a cell phone repeater. Inside the hangar, I've got a variety of antennas that work great in the summertime with the door open. In the wintertime, with the door closed, they don't work so well. Cell phones don't work. I mean, I've got a TV in there as well. If I'm out there all day Saturday, in the fall, I like to watch the Buckeye games while I'm working, you know. It helps the time go a little bit further. So I have a variety of communication needs that I would like. It's really easy to facilitate. I'm again probably a little bit unique. My day job, I work at that other big airport down south in IT, and put this technology in, our team put that technology into John Glenn. So we did the distributed antenna system for the cell phones, the new Wi-Fi system, and all that stuff as well. So I've got hands-on experience with some of this technology. But my initial request to Kevin was to put a cell phone repeater, which since I'm on an end hangar, there's multiple ways to put that in fairly simply.
So I may not know exactly what that is. I have had in my house before, I can't remember what Verizon called it, but something that hooked up through my Wi-Fi or through my internet, and then it would boost the cell phone signal. Is that what you're talking about?
Very
Something
similar.
like
It's different technology than that. That's kind of real entry level for home use. But
yeah, it didn't work very well.
most of them don't. Most of them, when my previous employer, Bob Evans, they tried to use that temporarily. And the problem with most of those, they have to be sitting near a window or something to get synced with the GPS. And of course,
And if you leave the area, you drop your call.
right. And they don't switch from one to the other, so, you know, like a normal cell phone would work. So there's a lot of, with the low-end products, but there's a variety of repeaters that are probably in the retail price range from $500 or $600 that work quite differently and quite well.
And this is something that would go in each hangar, or something that would work for the whole group of hangars? Or?
Yeah, again, my request was specifically for me. I wasn't planning on, you know, providing service to everybody. There's some.
I wasn't sure if you were just looking for permission, or if you're looking for something for the city to do to improve.
My request to
every
Kevin
tenant.
was just to approve me doing it. But I'm also supportive of the internet access in the hangars is something that a lot of folks are very interested in. And that's a little bit different to put in. Part of the problems you have is the construction of the different hangars. The newer hangars, since they're all metal and there's no openings, whether it's Wi-Fi or cell phone, the technology is similar. You almost have to put an antenna in every hangar, and that drives the cost of installation up. In the old ground hangars with the open across the top, you can get away with fewer antennas, and that would be, you know, a little easier or a little less expensive. But there's other options from an internet perspective. You could run hard wires into the hangar. That creates a little bit of a different problem, because then you allow the tenants to plug stuff in, you can't control security. If you put in Wi-Fi, you can control security better, but I'm getting down into bits and bytes, and there's multiple ways to skin that cat. And trust me, you want to lock it down, because I can tell you war stories about what goes on at John Glenn, and people sitting in the terminal, what they try to do.
Mm-hmm.
Not that our tenants in Delaware would try to do that stuff, but you never know.
So did you have thoughts about any of that, Kevin? Do you have a reservation?
Well, the city is not in favor of tenants fastening anything to the hangar. So this was just something that Mr. Leffler brought to me and I brought to my superiors. As I said, not in favor of putting antennas on the hangar and what would our options be. So it was put on here as a topic for discussion, just to air it out, see what people think. And like I said, it'd probably be something, we'll take that information, go back to our IT department and see what we can do or what can be done.
It does seem like it would enhance the tenant's experience if we could add something like that, and if we could do it in a manner that wasn't cost prohibitive to do it. I mean, if you go to McDonald's, you go to Tim Hortons, you go to CNH or wherever, and there's Wi-Fi everywhere you go, it does seem a little bit antiquated that we can't do it somehow, or that we can't offer it. Do you have any idea if any of the other smaller airports offer it or have it?
To my knowledge, they do not the smaller ones, Marysville, Marion, Bolton. I don't think OSU does unless they have something in the terminal like we do. I mean, initially when we got what we have in the terminal, it was because, pilots that are there all day long, and corporate pilots come and go, so they need it. It's a need.
Is this something that who's in charge of the IT department anymore?
Scott Stowers.
Stowers.
Scott, how do you spell it?
Scott Stowers, Stowers.
So would it be worthwhile talking to him to just see what he thought was involved as far as the cost goes?
To be honest, I know that the Public Works Director was aware of this, and I don't know if he has already talked to Scott, if they've had any conversation about it. I took what Mr. Leffler brought to me, to Joe. Joe had discussion, and we're kind of here, as I said, just to kind of open up the discussion on it and see where we go.
So it's based on what we recommend or what we talk about here, or?
I think that's the first step in the process.
If the commission was in favor of it, then I think that dialogue between Bill and Scott would happen so that we could bring back what information Scott provides. If there was no interest from this commission in having it in the T hangars, then there would probably be no need for discussion.
Kyle, what do you think?
I think it would be a nice enhancement. I'm not sure, how would the Wi-Fi work? You'd have to have an antenna in each hangar?
Most
Because of the
likely,
metal?
because the metal would attenuate the signal.
Right.
Can't you were talking about being able to close it down. Can't you do that with a router?
If you run a hard line into each, you put a jack, yeah, you could do that. That gets around some of that stuff. It would be a less expensive install. But then you'll probably have the antennas. A good example is what's occurring at airspace right now.
Right.
They're hardwired each hangar, and almost every tenant over there plugs up a Wi-Fi router in place. So there's 14 of them in. Some people they're wide open, and some of them aren't. You lose control of the security that way fairly quickly. But it's cheaper. I mean, it's better than nothing.
To hardwire, you mean?
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, because then you basically just got the amount of the labor cost to pull the wire to the jack, and those are relatively cheap. So it's a fairly low one-time cost and not much to maintain it. The Wi-Fi solution's a little bit more elegant, but it's got a higher installation cost. There's also several third-party Wi-Fi companies in the area that provide service too, so maybe some deal could be made with them.
But they have to have the external antenna.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the city does, it would have to put something in too. So I mean, in regards to Wi-Fi, but there's several companies that provide Wi-Fi service even into rural parts of Delaware County. So because where people that don't have cable.
Next gen access.
Satellite dish.
No, this is Wi-Fi. They'll go up and put a Wi-Fi repeater on the side of a silo, and get everybody within 5 or 6 miles of that farm. And it's actually big, but fairly high bandwidth as well. So technology's changed a lot in the last 4 or 5 years.
What do you think, Kyle?
I'm not opposed to it, I guess I need more information about what the cost and effectiveness and security and all those kinds of things.
Well, Jane?
I think it's a good idea. We don't have a home built, but I know my husband does work on the air coop, and he realizes that he needs to do something, and he comes home and looks it up and then goes back to the airport. So, that it's the same as you're saying.
Right.
I get, and I have no knowledge of this kind of thing. I know what Wi-Fi is, and that's about as far as my knowledge goes. As long as I can talk on my phone and use my iPad, I'm fine. But you were talking about a cell phone repeater and Wi-Fi, and
Those
they're
are two
two different things.
And two different solutions.
So if you had Wi-Fi, do you still need the cell phone repeater?
I'll answer the question. It would be a preference, because again, when my spouse decides she wants to get a hold of me, and it's February and I got my door down, my cell phone, it's a flip of a coin whether it works or not.
Really?
If you have Wi-Fi there, you can turn your phone to take Wi-Fi calls right over VoIP.
Some phones
Most
support that, yeah.
I guess I would be in favor of it, provided it's not going to cost, multiple thousands of dollars, and
Well,
and it's a
that's
security,
Kind of what I'm thinking
the
is,
security thing.
not
is an issue.
necessarily do it, but find out more information on it and what it would cost and, how it would be done that would best suit our purposes. And I
Is
think it's
there,
worth looking into.
is there some way that you could do like a one-time charge, or, if you wanted to connect to the Wi-Fi, or a yearly charge or something that would help kind of
Or
defray
raise
the
the
cost?
hammer
I
rent
don't have
$10.
any idea.
Well, if I may, the Wi-Fi that we have at Airspace Place is slow, but it does work. It works well enough that we can, from home, get on our smartphone, tell it to turn on the preheat, and it'll start preheating the block of the engine. We have it set up on a timer so it turns off 2 hours later or 4 hours, whatever. So it's useful for that. But if someone is sitting there building a home built and they want to surf the web for aircraft spruce parts all day long, it's going to be a painfully slow connection.
Although I think they did upgrade the bandwidth in the last month or so, didn't they?
All that I don't know. But the Airspace Place Wi-Fi does have its benefits. You can, do your preheat. There's different things we can do with it. I don't know about a cell phone repeater. I don't think the city's in the cell phone business.
So we'd have to have two separate ones?
Well, no.
Airspace Place would have one, and then,
Well, Airspace Place
Already does.
pays out of their fees the charge for so much data per month
well, and then
on
if
Wi-Fi.
if the city put one in, it's not going to affect,
It wouldn't affect. It'd be a separate account unless.
slow it down, would it? But,
No.
It would be
No.
configured, you can configure it so it's not interfering.
Right, right. Different
There's different
frequencies.
communication channels.
How's the internet get to the terminal now? Is there fiber going in there?
Yeah, we are finally on the city server.
Oh, it's all through city-owned lines?
What we have in the terminal, yes, we're on the fiber, the phone, the computer, all of that is
Okay.
on the city server.
So when I'm in the terminal on that Wi-Fi, I'm on city
Yes.
utility. Okay.
And as Mr. Leffler said, that is locked down to a certain degree.
So most of the expense, if you install hard lines, or even if you install Wi-Fi, you're gonna have to install the access points need to be local.
Right.
The bulk of the cost is gonna be running the conduit and wire.
When it's
And
low voltage, you're not really any conduit involved.
You'll need to, if you're gonna put, how are you gonna get it between hangars? You're gonna have to put conduit underneath, probably the entrance in each of the ramp areas or something. You gotta put conduit in. You can't install it. You can run some of it in hangars without it, but outside it's when it's in the ground, it'll have to be in conduit.
Right. Anything buried in the ground in conduit, right.
Unless you go with a total Wi-Fi solution where you're getting Wi-Fi in each hangar bay. And those solutions exist as well.
And again, you know, our IT department, that would be something that there would be several options. What direction do you want to go? He's talking about hard line. There might be something where they're like, well, no, we could do this. I have no idea. It was, what interest is there? Is it something that the commission is in favor of doing to get the discussion going, which it has.
I think it'd be worth taking a look at personally. And, you know, if nothing else, asking Scott Bowers, or however you say his name, you know, what his thoughts are on it.
I just like to know what the options are,
Yeah.
cost, things like that.
You know, is it inconceivable that we could put it in, or is it a piece of cake and yeah, we could have it done day after tomorrow?
I'm going to say
Or
it's
somewhere
probably
in
not the
between.
piece of cake. It
A
might be in
year
there.
from now, we may still be discussing.
Or the day after tomorrow.
Yeah.
My guess would be if it's approved and everybody wants to make a go out of this, in a matter of a couple of weeks, it could be installed. You contact Verizon or one of the other carriers and
Well, you're talking
Not
about
really,
the
but
cell
the
phone thing?
side, no, it wouldn't be that, trust me.
okay.
We've been in a year and a half to get the Verizon dads up at John Glenn's.
Or Comcast or who
But
has
there's a
cable?
variety of third-party vendors that would be more than willing to provide a quote to provide the internet service.
But then again, is that a situation of, let's say we have 60 tenants, say there's 10 that want it. The city, and again, I don't know how this all works, but the city facilitates or tells whoever, yes, you can do what you need to do to set up on our facility to get the signal to them. And there's only 10 tenants that want it, and they actually have to put something in the hangar and they tell you it's $30. You know, are you going to have 10 tenants that want to pay $30 a month for the Wi-Fi in the hangar? I mean, that might be one of the options that is just an option, and it's like, well, no, we don't have enough tenants that want to pay. I don't know.
Company I'm familiar with that will sell 30 or 40 megs through a Wi-Fi device. You hook it up on the end of the hangar row, and then you could hardwire it down the line and just split that $30
Mhm.
cost among the 10 hangars. Now, whether that company will do that direct or, you know, somebody's got to do that as an intermediary.
You know, I think it would have to go through the city somehow
Yeah.
because it's city-owned property.
Mhm. Yeah.
But if even if the city subcontract gets them out of that IT problem and security one, that puts the risk back on the vendor. And it also isolates the city network from the hangar network, which if I was your IT guy, I would be recommending.
Let us take this back to our IT department.
Who can
And-
drive, who would be driving that? Who would be, I mean, I guess Joe would be the one taking it to the IT department, right?
Probably be the director, probably Bill.
Bill, okay.
And then he would filter it back down to Joe and Kevin.
So who's gonna?
I will talk with Bill.
Okay.
Something else I might recommend, Kevin, and I don't know the process to do that, maybe in, you know, an email or something, you ask the tenants, are you interested? How much would you be willing to pay?
That would probably be something we would do after the discussion with the director in IT. That might just be the natural next step as they come and say, let's find out what the interest level is.
Here's our options. Let's see
Yeah.
which tenants are interested.
Yes.
Because if you get 10% that will respond, it's going to tell you one thing versus 90%.
Mhm.
So I guess bring up both the Wi-Fi and the phone. But my gut tells me
The
that.
phone's going to be a significant expense.
Yeah, I would shy from the phone, but if you want to explore it, go ahead.
Exactly.
No, I can tell you what it costs, and it's a significant impact.
Let's just do one, maybe, the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought too, because I mean, if you really want phone in your hangar, you can get a VoIP phone and have service there for pretty cheap. And then your wife can call you on the hangar number, or the hangar phone.
Have her call Kevin and he'll come down and get you.
That
For a
would
small
be
fee.
$75.
As Kevin well knows, my schedule is almost mutually exclusive.
Yes.
I show up at the time he leaves.
About the time I'm leaving. That's why we get along so well.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be a fast, 25 gigabytes a second connection, I wouldn't think.
The 2 megabyte that AirPlace had would be very painful for most of us.
The airspace place speed would be painful
Yeah,
if you're surfing the web.
surfing the web or even downloading firmware, downloading database updates and any of that stuff. Yeah, it would probably take overnight or a day to download some of the databases I load in my airplane, every week. So yes, bandwidth's important.
I don't want to sound negative about this, but I do all my data downloads at home on a fast connection and bring my cards and stick them in. If you're building an aircraft in a hangar and you're looking for parts from aircraft spruce, do you really need a fast connection? I don't know.
But if I'm dealing with an issue and the software vendor's on the phone and says, here, let me send you a software update to fix this bug. Do I want to drive home, download it and come back?
Point well taken.
Would the connection in the terminal suffice?
I've tried it a couple times and couldn't maintain a connection.
From your hangar or close to it?
No, sitting in the terminal. So I quit doing that a long time ago.
Okay.
Well, let us look into it and bring it back to you.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you for your input.
Let me know if there's anything I can do, Kevin.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Bob.
May I ask your time frame? You're looking to get this done?
6 months ago.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll get back to you within 6 months.
Yeah.
Oh, you said 6 months ago. That's a problem.
I mean, our next meeting is 3 months. Hopefully we can have some sort of conversation about it then.
So again, I'm a unique tenant in the fact that I'm hands-on on all this technology and I can do it myself, so. And obviously I understand the city's position where they don't want me drilling holes in one hangar, but actually came up with a solution that didn't require any of that, but.
So you've got your antenna
What?
already?
Satellite dish?
No, not yet, I didn't buy it. I got one of those too, but it's sitting in Kevin and I have talked about that, but I didn't bring that up today. Again, I'm a unique character. I'm more technology advanced than most of the other tenants.
I wouldn't spread that around. You'll start getting calls.
I already have.
Yeah, you can come over to my hangar and help my, what? No, I'm kidding.
I'm also the EA technical counselor. So
Can you just
that's
fly
why-
your airplane around the internet hotel and download whatever you want?
Yeah, so somebody wants to pay for the fuel.
Fuel's the cheap part. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bob.
Thank you.
Update on ONG training operations.
Okay, we were contacted by the Ohio National Guard about a month ago that they're going to be doing some training at Alum Creek. They wanted to use the airport for their base operation, loading, unloading personnel, guardsmen, what have you. The dates that they're tentatively scheduling are July 25th, 26th, and 27th to do this. It'll be, I think, one Chinook and one Black Hawk, maybe more. That's the conversation that we had when they met at the airport was that's what they were looking at, one of each. There won't be any makeup dates, so if weather is a problem on one day, then it's a 2-day event right down to none at all. They're going to be using the field behind the Jetstream hangar to the east, between the Liebert Woods and the Jetstream hangar. That's where they'll be doing their operations. So we'll have that construction gate open that they use for the pancake breakfast. They'll have a couple, one or two guardsmen there, because apparently they're going to also bus some people over from the Ohio National Guard unit there beside the Y. So they'll be bringing some people back and forth, and we don't have the personnel to do that, and it's their thing anyway. We're going to have nothing to do with it other than we designated the spot they can use. And then I found out earlier in this week that they're going to do their refueling down at OSU. So really for us, I know.
They want to use our grass, but their gas.
It has to do with what they call a contract fuel. We discussed that they either wanted to bring their own truck in, which is a huge truck, which couldn't be fueled in the grass area, so they would have to come over to the ramp, which could be a problem. And then they do a thing like a nationwide jet fuel price. So whatever the price they say they will pay is, you have to sell it to them for that. Who knows, it could be what we're paying for fuel. I don't know, so it could turn into 5,000 or 8,000 gallons of fuel that you put a lot of man hours in and didn't make anything. But either way, we would have done that, but they decided to use OSU. So these operations could go from 8 in the morning till midnight. So there could be some residents wanting to know about all the helicopters that are going back and forth.
Does it make sense to let the newspaper know about that, so it's?
Once we got information, we sent it to Lee Yoakum, the public affairs coordinator for the city. The Ohio National Guard has already contacted the sheriff, Delaware County Sheriff, Tri-Township Fire Department, City Police, so they're aware. And I think if Lee is going to put something out, it's going to be a little closer to the event. We don't want people to think this is like a air show event, because it's not. It's a training exercise. There's no room for spectators, and the way I understand it, they will have guardsmen keeping spectators back. So to your question, if something's going to be put out, it would come from Lee.
Yeah, and you don't want those Chinooks on the ramp. They'll blow those little 150s and 172s off.
No.
Yeah, heavy choppers make a lot of noise, and what, they're gonna be flying over to what? A body of water
To Elm
to
Creek.
dunk people in the water, or what?
I think they're going to be dropping people and extracting people from the water. Exactly what it all entails, I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Was one of them in a couple of weeks ago?
For the meeting, they flew in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I went running outside to see what it was.
It's not a Robinson 44, it's gonna make a lot of noise.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Rattled our windows.
And they're aware of the noise abatement area, I'm sure, they're pilots.
Yes, and the area that they wanted to use to come in, they were coming right across the end of 28. And I said that would cause us some problems. Could you make it more of a direct approach where they'll basically come right over the woods and land that way versus coming off the end, across the end of the runway? I said, because we have an active flight school, we have tenants that are active, we have corporate traffic. I said that could be a problem, because we'll need to put a note out that we have military operations going in this area for this amount of time. We wouldn't want to scare off a corporate person that was thinking of using the airport because we got the end of the runway boxed off with a NOTAM.
Right. No, that's good thinking.
And they were really good to work with. They said, no problem, whatever we need to do to make you, the city, whoever, happy.
Slightly different subject, but still along the training lines. What's going on with Dale Bauer's operation?
He told me that they had to have all 3 of the rotors sent out to be, I don't exactly know if it was due to time or due to a strike or something. I don't know, but he said that was costly. So it hasn't flown for a while.
So he did get started initially, and then.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he has 5 or 6 instructors. They're police. It's not their full-time job, but that will rotate in as he has students. He's trying to get a contract with the Columbus Police to train their pilots.
He's only got 1 helicopter right now?
1 helicopter, but then someone came to them and said they had one, another Schweitzer that they wanted to lease back, privately owned, but I guess it's at Bolton. So I didn't know if he was he said it was gonna stay there because they don't have room, but switch them out as one needs to go to maintenance or what have you. So it won't be like there's two helicopters operating out of the airfield.
Questions or comments?
I noticed on the minutes from January that there was a discussion about building a sand storage bin and also update to the men's restroom. Is there any?
We had a flooring issue in the men's restroom that was by the urinal that was removed, replaced, new tile put in. We put different lights in, new mirrors, just kind of,
Spruced it up a bit.
spruced it up a little bit.
Cosmetic stuff.
And for some reason, the women's bathroom is always cleaner, so there wasn't as much work to do in there as there was in the men's.
Thanks, Jeff.
But we got that taken care of. And the sand bin, it's finished. It's 16 by 20. It's got a door on it, electric heater, lights, so for our sand. We've been keeping it over on Ross Street. At some point, that facility is going to go away. And even more than that, we have to go over and get it and then bring it back. And what we've been doing, if we know Jags is departing in the morning, we get it, put it in the hangar, but then we can't use the truck that has the sander on it to plow any snow because it has to be warm and there's always some moisture and sand and it can freeze. So this will be, and it's a two-man operation to get it loaded. This will be, if something happens, like we have ice we didn't expect, one guy should be able to load it up with a skid loader in 10, 15 minutes and we'll be ready to apply it. It'll be a big bonus. It really didn't cost us a lot because it's just those concrete blocks, 6 foot high, and then we built a 4-foot wall and roof on top of it just for heat.
Because you and I discussed this, a year ago?
Yeah, we set the blocks
Uh-huh.
and then we got with the city building,
Jerry Warner.
Jerry Warner, just to tell us, what would we have to do? Does it need to be metal? Does it need to be this? And what he advised us to do. And then we moved on to the next phase, insulation, drywall, like I said, lights, heat. So it'll be a nice improvement.
If we have any snow, nice.
Yeah, see, we got the broom, we didn't have snow, so I'm hoping with the sander, we'll be ready and no snow.
I'm with you, Gavin.
Yes. And I'll tell you that the grooved runway, we had times that the runways and taxiways were a sheet of ice and the runway was dry. All we had to do was sand the jet a path to get to the runway. Didn't have to do anything to it. It drains great. It's amazing that, there will be moisture on the flat surface and it'll freeze, but the runway is dry.
Just because of those grooves.
Just because of those grooves. And then that little bit of pavement that is not grooved, when the sun comes out, that dries immediately. So even if that was froze within just, a half hour, it's wet.
You want to drink of water before you do the staff comments or anything?
No. Really, the only comment I have is last month we did over 13,000 gallons of jet fuel. That's the second most jet fuel sales we've ever done at the airport since I've been there. I don't think any before. We did over 14,000 in 2009, but OSU was having the runway was closed and they were doing a mill and overlay. So we certainly got some business from that, but this was strictly our base tenants. We had some larger jets that not bigger than we've ever gotten, just larger jets that were able to take more fuel. And that is what attributed to, it was like 13,400 or 500 gallons. It's significant when normally in the summer, a busy month would be 6,000 or 8,000.
Wow.
And the EAA chapter has been doing a Young Eagle event with every pancake breakfast. The weather really didn't cooperate with them on the first two in May and June, but this last one, I know the breakfast was well attended, and I think they gave 32 or 34 Young Eagle rides. So it's been a nice benefit. The pancake breakfasts have been well attended and had a lot of families out to the airport for the Young Eagles.
Very good. Member comments.
Can I,
Oh, pardon
before
me?
we go, since Ms. Simonis did not come, you'll need to either make a motion to excuse or not excuse her, please.
We don't want to shoot her, do we?
I don't know where she is. We just didn't.
All right,
know
let's
her.
Motion to excuse her, please.
I'll make a motion to excuse Ms. Simonis.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And also, I have one item, please. I have a form that before you leave, if you could sign it, and it's just acknowledging the code of conduct that we had sent out probably back in April.
No problem.
You can just do that. That's your
Just
signature.
Walt?
Just Walt. It's only
He's the only one you're worried about?
his name's the only one on there. I just.
I'm the only shady character on the board, evidently, or commission side.
You're welcome.
Kudos to your background check. That's a good job.
All right, member comments, Charlton?
No.
I have one. We were at the ice cream place in Prospect a couple of Sundays ago. And we were in the Corvette, and the Corvette license tags are aviating. And a guy was walking in front of the car, and he said, "Nice car," and we could tell he was looking at the license plate. So as we were standing in the line, he came over and talked to Woody and I and said, the first comments were not hello or, anything like that. He said, "What do you fly?" So we struck up a conversation and found out that he was a NetJets pilot, had never been into Delaware, but did mention to us that he had heard that it was a good place to fly in and out of. So I thought that was a nice comment. I mean, we just said that we flew out of Delaware, it was not a solicited comment like I jumped on him right away and said, what are your opinions of Delaware? He had never been in himself, but he said he had talked to a lot of the other pilots that were impressed with Delaware.
Very good,
So I wanted to share that with everyone.
very good. I did have a question about Wheels Up. You said they're coming in a couple times a month?
Yeah, starting in May, I think they've been in a couple times each month.
So we've got a resident somewhere who's calling them and saying, "Pick me up in Delaware."
As a matter of fact, the comment was, he said, "I didn't realize we could come in here. We've been going out of Bolton." And, you never
Why would
know.
he think you
The
couldn't?
pilot said this, or
No,
the
Passenger, you never know for what reason they may want to take the airplane into another airport. I'm not saying that's what it is, but we did run into that with FlexJet. They would want to go into OSU, or they'd want to go into CMH. It could just be because the pilots wanted to be somewhere where there was more happening.
More food.
Yeah.
But we've got Enterprise that will pick them up, right? And
Enterprise and Hertz will drop the keys with us. If
Okay.
you call and if you've either rented from them before, or if you're a gold member with Hertz, they have all your information, they drop the keys with us. And then we have two livery services. One is a higher end, My Chauffeur out of Columbus, that does double legal, but also if someone calls us and we kind of tell them, what are you looking for? And they're like, well, we're looking for something like an SUV, that type. Then we have that. And then we have another one. It's called Chase Transportation. Guy has two vehicles he uses. People want to go to the zoo or something like that.
wasn't there an Uber? Or are there
And you can get
Uber?
Uber from the airport.
Anything else? Looking for a motion to adjourn. It's 8:00.
So seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Everybody.